Good afternoon. All right, a little loud today. Welcome to today's Governing Board special meeting for elections. We do have a quorum. Oh, she did not put the Pledge of Allegiance on the agenda. So, yes, I would like to still do it. If you are able, please stand and join us. Thank you. So with that, it's nice now that we have a full board. I'd like to welcome our newest director to the board, our top vote getter, Jolene Piaskowski. Thank you. And we are going to move right in to 2.01 with the special meeting and 3.01, election of a new governing board president. And I'm going to turn this over to our secretary, Kay Williams.
Thank you. The special meeting is to elect a president. There are 9 members of the board. The majority to elect is 5. If there is only one nomination for an office, the official ballots will still be used. At this point, I'm ready to accept nominations for president.
Christine.
Thank you. I nominate Lisa Vines for the office of president.
Are there other nominations for president? Dick?
I'd like to nominate Terry Hammond.
Are both of you willing to accept the nomination before we have a vote?
Yes, and you need a second.
It's not a motion.
Oh, it's not.
Are there any further nominations? And you're going to think I'm a stuck record, but we have to do this right. Are there any other nominations? And the third time, are there any further nominations? Nominations are now closed. Will the tellers please come forward and pass out the secret ballots? Please fold them in half and return them to the tellers when everyone is finished. We have the results. Lisa has received 7 votes. Terry has received 2. Congratulations to our governing board president, Lisa Vines.
Thank you. So with that, we now have a vacancy on the vice president. So with that, we'll go ahead and do the nominations for the vice president position. Do we have
Yes.
Alan?
Thank you, Chairman Vines. I would like to nominate Jack Leary for the position of Vice President of the Board.
Are there any other nominations? Okay, why don't you go ahead and carry this on through, please?
Okay, no problem. Are there further nominations? Are there further nominations? Are there further nominations? If not, the nominations are closed. Will the tellers again please distribute the ballots? This will come as a surprise. Director Leary is your new vice president with all 9 votes. Thank you to you all.
Congratulations, Jack. Thank you. So, thank you, directors. We appreciate that. With that, we're going to move into 4.01 with director comments, but I would also like to thank our tellers for helping us through this. And Mike, I know I'm probably going to butcher your last name, Mike Costanda, is that right? Or close enough? And Kathy Estes. Thank you. So with that, director comments. Director Hammond?
I'm sure glad you got elected.
Thank you.
I've been there before. I don't want to do it again.
Oh, thank you. Director Rhodes?
No comment.
Director
No
Schulman?
comment.
Director Williams?
Thank you. Congratulations to these 2 very hardworking board members, because I know they'll care most about what happens to Sun City West. It's been a pleasure to work with them. I'm looking forward to a very positive rest of this fiscal year with great accomplishments, and always remembering you guys come first. Thank you.
Director Leary?
Thank you, everyone, but no further comments.
No comments?
Further echo what Director Williams has said. We have a really big task ahead of us as a governing board. We have to buckle down to the most important, arguably the most important part of our fiscal year, which is the budget. So looking forward to continuing to work with all of you. Welcome our new official president and vice president. Welcome Jolene Piaskowski. And again, as Kay so beautifully said, we're here to serve the community, and I'm looking forward to continuing to do that.
Thank you, Director Novella. Director Piaskowski. Thank you. We will open the floor to audience comments. You'll come down, give us your name and rec card number, and write it on the paper waiting for you. Thank you. And I believe the 2-minute clock is up. Perfect. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen and fellow residents. Bud Metter, 132059. I've got 2 minutes here to say, I can do it in less than that. Words are important. It's important that what we say, we know what we're saying and how we're saying it and what we're saying it for. In the press for the last few days, I've been seeing words such as crisis, meltdown, and irreparable damage. We have no crisis in Sun City West. We certainly have no meltdown in Sun City West, and nothing that has been done so far is irreparable. There's nothing inevitable. We can always fix the problem if we put our hearts and minds to it. There is concern that Mr. Hurley is still on the board. There is concern about that. And those issues that I just mentioned above can become serious if they're not attended to. That's what you folks are elected for. In my opinion, there needs to be a forensic audit done and a staff study done to make sure we've got the right people with the right bona fides and the right assignments at the rec center. That needs to be an independent study, an independent audit, and I would hope that the governing board would approve that. If they do, I would recommend a community committee put together a list of firms to be solicited to do those audits. I would volunteer to head up that committee. And if all possible, I would like to hear back from somebody on the board within the next, say, 10 working days. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Metter. The board will take that under advisement. Do we have any other comments? Oh, okay.
Happy April Fool's Day, Board. What a day to pick for a meeting, eh? Michelle Brunner, 127597. Good afternoon. I'm going to go ahead and read an email that I've sent to Acting Director Lisa Vines. I sent it this afternoon. You were not then president, so please pardon that. I have a quick question. And my question to you is, why were the bylaws not followed on February 27th, as outlined below? Article 04, removal of directors of the governing board, Code 4.16. 4.16.3. In addition to the foregoing, not in conjunction with, in the event a director does not maintain each of the 3 qualifications for office as set forth below, the position of the director shall automatically become vacant and a replacement may be appointed by the governing board in accordance with the bylaws. 4.16.3.1. The 3 qualifications directors must maintain during the entire term of office are as follows. 4.16.3.1.1. The director must be and must remain qualified to be an owner member of the association. 4.16.3.1.2. The director must be and must remain an owner member of the association in good standing as the term is defined by bylaw 2.05, section 2.5.1, and 2.5.6. I'm not going to read all of those, but I am going to read the one that pertains here. 2.5.1, an owner member in good standing is defined in section 2.5.6. Hereof shall be entitled to vote, hold office, sign petitions, on and on. 2.5.6, owner members, associate members, holders of tenant cards, considered to be in good standing with the association and eligible to exercise the rights and privileges hereunder only, and if all of the following conditions are met.
I'm sorry, your time is up.
You
Is
want me to
there,
read those three conditions?
no, the board is very familiar with that policy.
So I guess my question to you as a board is why it was not followed. And I would like a response to that, please.
Okay. We did follow all. Okay. We did follow all of the policies. That policy specifically does not apply here because that policy pertains to members who don't pay their dues, who are not, they become members not in good standing. Okay. I'm happy to share with you, when I read your email later, I will share with you information from the association attorney, but the board must follow the Arizona state law, case laws, and that is why we can't remove directors from the board. We have to, the Arizona state laws trump our bylaws. Yes, they do. So that specific policy applies to somebody who didn't pay their dues and becomes a member not in good standing. Okay. I'm happy, if you would like to make an appointment and sit down with me, you're welcome to call the governing board secretary, make an appointment. I'm happy to sit down with you. Okay. Of course. I'm happy to sit down with you. Of course. Any other comments? Off the top of my head, I do not have that off the top of my head, but if you, again, want to make an appointment, I'm happy to sit down with you. Oh, I'm sorry, Christine?
President Vines, if possible, you could consult our legal counsel again. I know that there's a fee for that, but perhaps he could provide some additional color for that, because he has for us.
Right.
Correct.
I'll see what Michelle's email says, and then, of course, happy to do so. Yes, of course, Michelle. Okay. Thank you.
I'm still Bud Metter, and I'm still 132059. Question: the attorney to whom you refer, is he the attorney specifically for the governing board, or does he represent the governing board and the rec center?
He's the association attorney
So
for
everything
RCSCW.
and
The
everybody.
governing board does not have their own attorney.
Okay,
That is something we've talked about, but we do not have our own attorney.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I think we have one more.
My name is Larry Reed, rec card number 120508. And the question is for the entire board, but Lisa, since you've been representing the board and comments back and forth, I would just ask this. I have found, first of all, in a review of the bylaws, that the actions taken should have resulted in Mr. Hurley being removed from the board. Now, I understand that this now evolved into a question of whether the bylaws are in sync with Arizona state laws. And evidently, if I understand you correctly, they are not. And that's why the board could not move forward and honor their own bylaws with the removal of Mr. Hurley. Now, if that assumption is correct, the question I have for you then, now that you know that the bylaws are not in sync with Arizona state law and that Arizona state law can overrule the bylaws, will the bylaws be changed so that they are in sync with Arizona state law so that violations of the bylaws can be enacted upon and the bylaws can be respected?
It's not a matter of being in sync with Arizona state law. It's a matter of the directors are elected by the community, by the residents of the community. We as directors cannot remove somebody that has been elected by the community. You all have elected the directors. When you recall somebody, that is your right. If the recall fails and the person is not recalled, the person cannot be recalled again for the remainder of their term. These are not just our rules, these are Arizona state law rules. The board doesn't have the authority because, again, I'll use Director Williams as an example. She was elected by the residents of the community. The board does not have the right to remove her. There is one area in our bylaws that state if a director misses 3 meetings in a row that are unexcused, they've not notified anybody, that is grounds for dismissal from the board.
All right, Lisa, I have a follow-up question then.
Of
I
course.
still have some time
Of
left.
course.
According to the
I
clock.
can't see from,
I have
so
a
I always
follow-
have to turn.
I have a follow-up question then. If that's the case, are you saying that the bylaws do not call for the removal of Mr. Hurley? Is that what you're saying?
That is correct.
Are you saying then that Mr. Hurley suspended?
He was in fact
Did
suspended.
the
And
bylaws
he
state
served
that,
his
did the bylaws
suspension.
state that a suspension results in a state of being not in good standing?
A suspension does not mean that he is not in good standing. It merely means he had his rec card privileges revoked for 28 days.
So just so I clarify, so a suspension means that you are still in good standing?
Correct.
And that's what the bylaws say.
He was merely suspended. He did not have he was not suspended because he didn't pay his dues.
That's fine, Lisa. You've said more by what you didn't say than what you did say.
Thank you. Okay.
Good afternoon. Sue Ambler, 129848. Just from a point of information and just experience is bylaws can be interpreted by any given number of people sitting around a table. I know because I've written them and I've interpreted them along with legislation and law for 30 years. I know a lot of people don't agree with it, but I have gone over with a fine-tooth comb, and no, I'm not an attorney, and I agree with what President Vines is saying. A lot of times we do not agree with the decisions that are made in interpretations of bylaws. But in this case, it is that. I would not, let me go back to say, I think the bylaws could be reviewed. They should be reviewed annually. But I would not make a change for a specific instance because then you would be changing constantly. You'd be changing your bylaws constantly. I'm working on 4 sets of bylaws right now, and I can tell you that. There are things you don't do. So just from a realm of Switzerland, I guess, is to understand how bylaws work, and I appreciate that our attorney that serves our association worked. I guess it's possible that they could have worked with another attorney and had a different answer, but this is the attorney that we hired to work with our association, who represents, by the way, our association, our members, and our employees.
Thank you, Mrs. Ambler.
Good afternoon. Deborah Johnson, 130208. Just some clarification on the bylaws, if you would. It says that a person being recalled can only be, cannot be recalled again within their term except for cause. Can you explain what cause might be?
I understand. I will get clarification on that from the association,
Thank you.
if you would. Thank you. If we have we'll have another question. Yeah, no problem. Okay, good.
Thing on. My name is Alan Garland. I'm member 128145. I'm going to change the topic. Bet you're all happy about that.
Thank you.
And my question has to do with, there was a survey done here a couple of years ago, I think in February 21. There was a report from that survey, and there was a desire to move forward with the plan. So I've looked everywhere that I can look, and I can't find much except the following. I found that there was a meeting, I think it might have been last June or maybe September, and there was a speech given by the former general manager about how this plan was going to be part of the 2023-24 budget. But I've not seen any progress reports from what may or may not have happened with this plan. However, I assume that whatever costs were required to complete this plan would have been in the budget. So I'm wondering if someone could tell us what happened to the plan, and is anything going to happen to it for the rest of this year? And all of these people who campaigned on the promise that there would be one next year, so we'll look forward to that. But in the meantime, can someone just tell us where to go and find out what the latest status of the plan is and what's been done, if anything? Thank you.
Sure, thank you. There was, to the best of my knowledge, I have been on the board, this is my third year, and we never saw a master plan come forward from the results of, as the results of the survey. That is correct. So I think what they did, they just keyed in on the points that got the most attention in the survey, and those were the points that they were trying to drive home as far as what they thought needed to happen in Sun City West. We're hoping that we are actually making that one of the key things for the incoming GM. We've given the search committee parameters on what we're looking for, and that's one of the topics that we're asking them to be strong, look forward, this is what we're going to expect from you, because we did not get that information. We asked in March for the March governing board meeting, it was on the agenda, the update, and it was pushed to the April meeting, but there'll be a surprise, it won't be there because there's nothing. So that's the only information I have for you, but we are moving forward with what we're getting from our staff, who does an outstanding job with their departments. Of course. Come to the mic, thank you.
Still 128, 145. Name is Alan. So sort of related to the idea of the plan, what with all what's gone on lately, been looking at the financials, the various budgets and actuals and things. So I did have a little bit of a question. Is there a report anywhere that sort of looks at us from a point of view of cost centers that would say, for example, here's all the costs associated with Beardsley, Kuntz, the sports pavilion, what I'll call the administrative offices, maybe the golf courses. I've left some out, but that's it. Is there a different way to look at the costs? Like we could say, hey, between expenses and capital, here's how much we're spending in various parts of Sun City West. So
Yeah.
does this clock stop when I'm waiting for my answer?
No, I'm going to go ahead and no, it won't. I'm going to let Director Rhodes handle this. But Cliff, it's okay with you. I'm going to let Director Rhodes take this. Is that okay? Super. Director Rhodes, he is our treasurer and chairs the budget and finance.
Yeah, I have to
committee.
ask you. I understand he's the treasurer.
Right, no, correct.
So the point that you make is a very good one, but I do want to clarify something. We don't have a profit and loss
I understand
statement.
that.
We have revenue and we have expenses, and I'll just use an example of golf. We were chartered as a golf community. So whether we receive one dime of revenue from golf, we still have to provide golf. That does offset the income or the revenue that we receive from golf. That does offset what our dues would be, our annual dues would be. So we do look at each one of the categories, golf, the clubs, we have an entire laundry list of those, but we look at the expenses that are associated with them. And there isn't we don't look at a break even. What we look at is if we're operating at an efficient level, if we have enough staff, and if we are providing the level of service that we think we should have.
Okay, if I implied that I was going after the golf organization, that wasn't the intent of my question. The intent of my question was, do we have a way to look at sort of how the money has to be spent? For example, are we spending way too much money, for example, maybe maintaining one complex? When I say we're spending way too much, it's costing us far too much to maintain that complex. Maybe it needs a major revamp or something. That's really what was behind my question.
Just wanted to use golf as an example. I knew that you weren't really focusing in on golf. But we look at our physical plant very closely every year and make determinations of what type of upkeep and what kind of maintenance. We look at all of the equipment and have that amortized where we know when the acceptable life has expired. And but in our reserve fund, we track all of that. So, do we make a determination if we're spending an inordinate amount of money? We look more on, is this a satisfactory level of maintenance?
Okay, so I need 6 seconds back on the clock, but I was watching it run while you were talking.
I will let you,
I'm just kidding.
I'll let you go over, but also you'll
I'm just
notice
kidding.
that Cliff Swan, our CFO, has come to the podium. I
Nice.
think he has something else he would like to add.
Okay.
So we're going to let him. Welcome, Cliff.
Sort of.
Okay. To answer your question, we have 33 departments. Okay, so we do, within our 4 divisions, we've got golf, general administrative, recreation, and sports pavilion.
Mm-hmm. Saw
So
that.
we roll everything up into those 4 divisions. Within those 4 divisions, we have 33 departments. So we do look at every department and look at efficiencies and the costs when we go to budget. And when we're going through our processes yearly and going through our processes daily, that's part of our job as a management team and operations is to go through that process. So yes. Now, is break even or profit on the mind? No, it's not. We try to do and provide the services at the service levels required the most efficient way. But at the end of the day, this association, all the amenities it has, is subsidized by its members. So we do it in the most efficient way so that we don't have to keep the dues as low as possible, but also provide the services at the service levels that is being required.
Okay. Yeah, this will get too deep, so we won't go there. The last part of my question was really thinking about, back to my questions about the master plan. I've heard people say, gee, maybe IT is going to be a big deal in the future. Let me tell you, $5 million a year is not a lot of money to spend on IT. I've spent 30 years in the IT business working for a multinational corporation, and it was way more than that. We spent $5 million just buying computers for desktops, never mind dealing with the infrastructure, things like that. That was every year. So we've done some things here, but if you're looking at IT in the future, you're going to be looking at big capital expenditures like you do for the golf course. That's all I wanted to warn you. Free advice.
Wait, don't leave yet. You might want to, I'm going to throw this, Jack is going to take this, Director Leary, because we did address this at our last meeting. So go ahead, Jack.
What I wanted to say is, speaking as a member of the search committee for the new general manager, that was one of 3 comments that we highlighted in the e-brochure. IT was one that we needed to do something with. Another one was the master plan. That was actually the very first one. Master plan was first, IT was second, and then the third is to plan ahead so that we know what incoming generations will want from a community like ours, so that we may be prepared for those people when they start to become the age to move here. So those are the 3 specific big challenges that any new GM is going to have when he or she comes in.
Yeah, the change in what people will want in the future was something that seemed to be lacking from the survey. That was what I know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nick Turner, 131829. Hello, everybody.
Hi, Nick.
I'm a little worried about the fact that we're going to wait for the new general manager before we start work on the master plan. A new general manager is at least 3 months away, 6 months to get a better understanding of the community and what it needs, and then starting work on a master plan. It's more than 12 months away. We're about to complete 1 budget cycle without knowing what the master plan is. It sounds like we're going to complete another one in 2 years' time. I think that somebody on that governing board there needs to pick it up and run with it, and do the same with IT. We can't be 2 years away from doing the investigation into what it costs to implement a master plan, never mind doing it, and the same for IT. We need to actually do something and do it quickly. Let's get something done.
Thank you. And it's actually one of the things that we're putting on the task for the interim GM as well, asking the interim GM to look at, and IT is on the list as well. Director Hurley?
Yeah, before Bill Schwinn left, he had developed 5 strategic initiatives, and he had reports on them that were almost all done. And with someone on the staff could probably go into his computer and get those and update them at one of our meetings.
Thank you, Nick.
Bud Metter again. One quick question I would like to see by a show of hands. Who on the board supports the forward movement of a professionally?
We can't do that.
Oh, you can't? Well, it deals with the master plan, strategic plan, and now I'm just very interested in knowing how the board feels about that. Yes, sir.
May I?
Jack, go ahead.
I will respond by that by saying the language that was created by the search committee included those 3 special tasks, the board unanimously agreed that those are the three most pressing things
Search
that
committee
were
meeting for the new incoming GM.
for the new GM, yes. So
My question to that would be, why is the GM doing that when the GM works for you? I don't understand the relationship there.
It is literally in the GM's job description, the master plan or a strategic plan. It is literally in their job description.
So if I understand you correctly, then if he or she gets to it, then they've done, and does it to an acceptable job, then they've done their job. But if he or she doesn't get to do that, get on to doing that, then the board has no responsibility in causing that.
We do. We have been pushing and pushing this whole board. As I said, for the 3 years I have been on this board, I have been pushing for that, asking for that plan and asking for the plan, and we just kept getting pushed off and pushed off. And the survey was done, and we didn't even actually, we saw just the results that, they wanted to share with us. So that was a,
I see the board's duty in that respect. I'm not trying to be a wise guy here, but you guys are the 800-pound gorilla in the room. You really are. You are the final authority.
right.
You really are.
Right.
And you are the ones who say you are employed or you're not employed at those levels. And if you just heard from my predecessor, Nick Turner here, he said, we got to get on with this plan.
And this whole board supports that, and we're working diligently, and as Jack said, that was one of the first items that we said, we need somebody who's
I like
strong
answer.
in that.
The whole board supports that. Then I'm happy with that.
And that's one of the things we realize we're probably going to have an interim GM that could be there slotted maybe 6 months. So we're going to ask them to get that ball rolling. And as Director Hurley pointed out, Mr. Schwinn has that ball started. We're going to ask them to pick that ball up and run with it in what they have started.
I hope we can have some more dialogue on that, because
Absolutely.
because I would personally have some difficulty with a new firm coming in and picking up something that somebody else did. But to be continued.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Fair enough. Thank you.
My name is David Bennett, 137887. What you just said is that you were pushing the former GM for 3 years to come up with a master plan or do something, and nothing got done. What's to prevent the same thing happening again? Can you write something in hiring this new person that gives you the authority to either put up or shut up if they don't perform, that you have some control to demand
Yes,
that it gets done?
it is going to be part of the interview process.
Thank you.
Correct. Thank you, Mr. Bennett.
Hugh Martin, 22481. I just have one quick question. This discussion leads me to believe that you wanted something, a master plan, and it was the general manager's responsibility to present it, and it never happened? Or is that too simple?
No, that's pretty much the nuts and bolts of it.
Well, I understand during those 3 years that he continually got increases in his salary.
I cannot confirm or deny that, because the only person that has control of that, and this is probably going to sound funny, but you realize I was just sworn in, or, given the presidency, 30 minutes ago. The only person that has any authority to do that is the president of the governing board.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So if there are no other questions, we have an online question. Go ahead, Alan.
Thank you, Chairman. So this is from Scott Oblander, 139839. In the recent director election, there were 8 candidates, and the top candidate only received approximately 42% of the vote. I would suggest that the board review changing the bylaws to change the voting system to a ranked choice system, which will help deal with votes being diluted over several candidates. That is the end of his comment.
Okay, any other, no more online comments? No more? Great.
No more online comments.
Okay, there are no more online comments. If we have no more audience comments, I'm going to adjourn the meeting. Thank you, meeting adjourned.